You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 22nd day of August 2018. Hope you're having a great Wednesday, whoever you are, wherever you are. This is what they call the hump day, because if you're in a certain time zone and it's already noon, then you've got less work ahead of you than you had when you got less ahead of you than you do behind you. There you go. That's how that works. Okay, if you're returning, welcome back, and if you're here for the first time, a special welcome. Glad to have you with us. If you cannot see the chart I have up, the S&P 500, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. Within 30 seconds you'll be registered through the end of the month. You only have to register once per month. Come the first of next month, we'll do it all again. Be sure to bookmark this page, youtube.com/CFRN/live. Bookmark that page, and if the go-to software ever lets you down, we have a redundant back up. True story. Okie doke. On this fine Wednesday, let's turn for a little bit of news. Apple's Steve Wozniak, he's really not a part of Apple anymore, is he? He's very excited about cryptocurrency and their future. He got hacked a while back. I like to keep up with things, Steve said. He's 68. Steve Wozniak, the famed computer engineer and co-founder of Apple, was speaking at the Chain Exchange Blockchain Convention. In a recent interview, Bitcoin caught my attention. It had so many unusual aspects for any technology I had ever heard of. Nobody's really known to be the creator. It doesn't have any centralized component. It's based on mathematics, and there's a certain number of Bitcoin that can ever exist. Okay. Now, Woz is best known in computer history lore as the right-hand man to business visionary Steve Jobs. The two founded Apple, presently the most valuable company in human history. In 1976, Mr. Jobs handled the entrepreneurial aspects such as financing, while Woz was the brains, building personal computing revelations, ushering in an industry that literally changed everything. Mathematics, to me, is like nature. Woz continued in his admiration for Bitcoin. It's much better than human beings. I trust those things of nature more than what man makes up. Man makes up currencies, controls them, issues new US dollars every year. Bitcoin was immune to that. Woz helped Steve Jobs build Apple in its critical infant years through 1981. He would finally leave the company in a more or less permanent way by 1985. He's gone on to do a lot of philanthropic work, invented the universal remote. I did not know that. And has even hosted pop music shows. I did not know that. Of late, he is seen more as an ambassador of computing's earliest days. It's interesting to the current crop of builders, investors, and visionaries within the cryptocurrency space to get Woz's perspective. It might be odd if he was less than enthusiastic about prospects in this regard, and sure enough, he did not disappoint convention goers. It's so independent, Woz announced excitedly. Speaking of crypto, it's kind of like the internet when it was brand new. I was amazed at the technology behind it. People, startup companies that do other things in life. I've encountered people working in real estate avenues, types of Uber systems, everything we've got in our life, especially involving transactions, retail sales, car sales, manufacturing of goods, working on Bitcoin applications, and they all have value. Every single one you hear about, to me, has value. This is Steve Wozniak, the guy who we might not have the personal computer without today, as we know it. Certainly not the iPhone, as we know it. A few people can see the value, which reminds me very much of the early internet days. He also discussed his involvement in a crypto investment group, Equicapital, which is a first for Mr. Wozniak. Steve Wozniak, a blast from the past. Bill payment company, GoBill, which I think is supposed to read Go Bill, has partnered up with CoinTree. And they're going to enable, and the whole purpose of the conglomeration is to enable Australians to pay bills using crypto. The announcement reads, the global alliance between the two companies will allow users from both platforms to pay household bills using their crypto coins stored in CoinTree's wallet. GoBill's website states that bills issued from any Australian provider can be paid through its system, including utilities, telecommunications, insurance, He clarified that the integration will be completed in approximately 1 month, when users will be able to pay all their bills with any cryptocurrency. Until then, members can pay their bills with just BTC using the CoinTree platform. The companies explained that GoBill's users can link a crypto wallet in their account and elect to pay their bills either by credit card, bank account, or a specified cryptocurrency, regardless of whether the biller accepts the desired payment method. Claiming to have over 50,000 members, CoinTree says that it paid Australian bills totaling over $74 million worth of cryptocurrency last year. This year, the company says that it has experienced a 10 times growth factor in crypto bill payments for the same time period. CoinTree is registered with the Australian government regulatory and monitoring body. GoBill is an authorized representative of an Australian financial services license holder. Well, that's a huge leap for mankind right there. And interesting, it comes out of Australia. Tulsi Gabbard, the American congresswoman from the Democratic Party serving as the U.S. representative for Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District, is the latest politician revealed to have made an investment in cryptocurrencies. She bought ETH and LTC in December of 2017, according to her latest financial disclosure report to the clerk of the House of the Representatives. The disclosure doesn't reveal her current cryptfolio. Oh, got a new word, cryptfolio. But the initial investment, at least, was somewhere between $2,000 and $30,000. Well, there's a bit of news. Let's go take a look at some numbers and see what's going on all around the world. Yesterday, on the S&P up here on the chart, I just left, that was the record high, and then suggested a pullback at least to this area, retracement here, but we actually dug a little deeper, and now we're back up just about where we were when we had this conversation yesterday. The Dow's currently down 19 points. These are cash markets. NASDAQ is up 24. S&P 500 is up 2. The Russell 2000 is up 3 points. Now, needless to say, no movers or shakers, and a mixed market. Crude oil added $2.10 today. That's over 3%. Today is crude inventory day, or was. Gold added $2.70, trading $12.0270 last. Go gold back over 1,200. In the Asian markets, the Nikkei closed up 142 points. Shanghai was down 19 points at the close. And the Hang Seng gained 175. In the European markets, the FTSE closed the day up 8.5 points. The DAX added just over 1 point, and the CAC managed to climb 12 points. So pretty quiet, pretty sedate trading. Mixed markets. We got one spot of red in the U.S. That's the Dow. All green in Europe, barely. And the Shanghai is the red that stands out in Asia. Other than that, we do have some green markets. And both the Nikkei and the Hang Seng, not huge numbers for them, but they were up over 0.5%. So, there you have it. Let's go to Michael and get a recap of what happened today in the live training room. And then I'll come back and we'll talk about, concierge trade alerts. We'll check in with John, see what he's got to offer, and answers to your questions and more. Coming up.
All right.
And how are you?
I'm okay. Okay, all things considered. There's
Okay.
just strange things going on. But it's all, well, it's all good.
Okay. All right.
Some way, somehow.
Okay, I'm going to hit mute. I'll be here when you're done.
Very good. I'll talk to you soon. All right, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd day of August, 2018. Today, let's see. Okay. If you have not taken a free trial with us, let's start with that. Okay. If you've not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page here at CFRN.net, and right over here on the right-hand side, it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. Click on that, or you can scroll down to where it says free 5-day trial, or use our proprietary indicators for free. You can do either one of those. When you do that, you'll eventually be brought to this page right here. On this page, all we ask for is your email, your first name, and how you found us. Click on the submit button, and you'll be sent a confirmation link. Okay. Once you get that confirmation link, you must click on it. Okay? Because we don't know you took the free trial until you click on that confirmation link. Okay? So it is imperative that you click on that. All right, the spreadsheet. Today was a really slow day. Well, it was better than yesterday, but just really slow. And we had just about the same results as yesterday. We were off by $1.25. Today, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 22nd day of August, 2018, and let me pop out the question box just in case there's any issues with YouTube that Joan has noticed. We made 1 tick in the euro and 11 ticks in crude oil. That brought us up to 116.25 on the morning. Today it took 68 minutes and 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 106.25, and we took a total of 6 trading opportunities. So on the month now, we're at 17.15. That's over 15 days, averaging $114 a day. Okay, on the year, we're at 22,813. That's over 153 days, averaging 149 per day. 149 per day. Okay. All right. Back to the charts. Gold. Oh, where's my? Here it is. On the gold. Let's see. We didn't do anything with gold today. I don't know if anything happened during the break, but nothing happened during the morning session. There was some movement in the pre-market in here that you could have traded. If you're using some of our other trade setups that we go over on Tuesday afternoons, you could have done a little something with those. But this morning, there was just nothing, no trading at all, nothing set up for us in the gold. And even now, during the break, nothing set up because we're not trending. Okay. All right. The euro, we ended up with +1 tick. We had 2 break-even trades, one there, and we got +1 tick here, and we missed this trade right here, which probably would have ended up being a break-even trade anyway. Since then, there has been nothing else. Nothing else. Okay. It's just been a flat morning. Crude oil. Now on crude, we had crude inventories come out. Now when the API numbers came out yesterday, the API numbers came out with a big draw. 5.1 million barrels, I think, is what the API numbers came out with. And so we're expecting a bigger draw than they were anticipating in crude. Now, if you look at it on a 15-minute chart here, yesterday, usually what will happen is the price will come back to where it was prior to the API numbers. But last night, when the API numbers came out, you see initially in the first 15 minutes, it ran from the 65.85 area all the way up to 66.15 area. So about 30 ticks. And then it got flat for about 8 hours. And then when the Asian markets opened up right here, or the European markets opened up right here, sorry. When European markets opened up right here, it just took off. This is when the crude inventories came out. I thought it was going to get down here, but it only dropped all the way down here, and then we had a bullish candle end up out of that, and it's been bullish ever since. But what we did with Crude today, we'll go back to the little time frame. Yeah, scrolling over. Here, let's look at it this way. There was nothing in Crude prior to the crude inventories coming out. There were no trade setups prior to that. But once we got over here, we had a long trade right here because the entry was below the MA1. We picked up 10 ticks right there. That's where we got the goal for the day. Then we went long over here and we stopped out -8 ticks. So we're at +2 at that point. Then we picked up 9 ticks right here. So that put us at +11 on the morning. We missed one there and we missed one there. And it looks like right there too. Okay, a couple of trade setups right in there. And then we got into the break. Now, during the break, it looks like Crude was pretty bullish. Was there a trade setup here? Yes, it was a trade setup right there. And I don't know, this is questionable right here. But that was it during the break. Okay, on the ES, we didn't do anything with the ES this morning. There was one trade setup right here that we missed. That would have been a break even. And that was it for the ES. There was nothing else on the ES this morning. The markets this week, the last week of the summer, they have been really, really quiet. Really quiet. And this weekend, yeah, this weekend's not the holiday weekend. It's the weekend after this holiday weekend. Yeah. Okay, so back over here. Hold on. I decided to just keep another browser open with just these 3 tabs, so I don't have to worry about having to find them every time. Back over here, as I said, today is the 22nd day of August, 2018. We made 1 tick on the euro and 11 ticks on Crude, put us at 116.25. Took 68 minutes and 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 106.25, and we took a total of 6 trading opportunities. On the month, now we're at 17.15. That's over 15 days, averaging $114 per day. On the year now, we're at 22,813. That's over 153 days, averaging 149 per day. 149 per day. Okay. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. If you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go to the home page here at CFRN.net. Right here it says apply.cfrn.net. Click on that. Or you can go down here, free 5-day trial, or here, or even way down here. Any one of those is going to bring you to this page eventually, where all we ask for is your email, your first name, and how you found us. Click on the submit button. And once you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay? Okay. And with that, yeah, I can just minimize this. Bang. And with that, we can go back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. It's Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. The largest park of America in a city. And there it goes.
And a fine city it is. Oh, yeah.
Fine city of Phoenix. So you never told me whatever happened the other day with Emily. Obviously, everything turned out.
Oh. She didn't think we knew that it was early out day at 1:15. So she comes home at 3:20, and my wife says, "You're late." She goes, "I know, you know, I tried, but doggone it, I can't get it right. I'm still 5 minutes late." And my wife laughed, and I laughed, and she's like, she gets that uh-oh look on her face.
Mm-hmm.
Why y'all laughing? Well, we know you got out at 1:15. Oh, that. So then we wanted to know where she'd been. So she drove us all these dead end, you know. I think it's this house. I went to visit this friend here. So when it was 100 and whatever outside. So when we said, you know what, maybe since you walked to her house from school and then walked home, maybe you could find it better if you were walking and not riding in the air-conditioned car. So you get out now, and we're just going to follow along behind you like a pace car. And when you see it, when you see the house, you let us know. And we finally wore her down, and she stopped in front of a house and said, "Okay, this is it." And so, turns out, as my wife went in and spoke with the young girl's mother, it wasn't the first time that she had been to visit without permission. So, I'm just glad it wasn't anything, worse. I'm glad,
I figured it must have worked out okay, because
it was, my wife, she's got her wired. She knows when she goes, "Don't worry, everything's fine. She's just doing what she shouldn't be doing." I go, "Well, yeah, that's why I'm worried." She goes, "Well," and so, yeah, it turned out she was just over at some girl's house, hanging out, whatever. If she'd have just come home and said, "I have all my chores done, could I go over to so-and-so's house and play for a while?" We'd have probably said yeah,
Probably.
But I guess it's more fun that way.
Yeah, it adds to the suspense.
The daring do and all that. So the markets have, we came up on that high yesterday, and I talked about this on the show. I don't know if you were still here or had already left, but I talked about the psychology of buyers when you put in a new all-time historic high.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's rarefied air. No one's ever,
And nobody's been in that space.
We don't know what percentage of oxygen to helium or whatever that other stuff is up there, and so it's like, okay, who's gonna take a chance? Who's gonna take a shot? And apparently, a lot of people said, "You know what? This bull market has been very good to me. Let me take some profits. Let me take some profit. Let me take some profit." And then right down here, the buyer stepped back in and got us up to just about where I think I was drawing these arrows. No, I think when I drew the arrows, we just had 2 red candles yesterday. I was just looking for a pullback into this area where I put the box, and then a continuation of the leg. So I got it happened the way I thought, but sort of in a different way. The market does the same thing every day in a slightly different way. It's true. You ever thought about that?
I go over it daily.
Now, last night when we sent out the email to the concierge trade alert clients, we suggested they might just want to get long at 28.52. Now, if the clever ones in the bunch actually took heed and got long at 28.52, well, they had a dandy ride. That first, where did that first one run up to? 57. CCTA by 28.52. So how much did we run up? The first leg, it looks like, took us up to, 57.50. So that would be 5.5. And that's a good day any day. Any day you can get that. You're very happy. And then, as we know, important prices in important areas are almost always tested. So price got back below the trigger just by a tick, by 2 ticks, and then off it went again. Now, on this pullback here, if you're trailing your stop pretty close, this could have certainly taken you out. And so from 52 up to 61, that would be 9 points. And if you somehow manage to escape getting stopped out on that pullback, or you're very clever and know how to get back in, I don't know. Here's what the market made available. It went from 52 so far up to 68. And would that be 16 points?
52 up to 68, yes, it would be. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so that's what the market made available on the S&P, guys. Still off of this record high, and just pretty quiet trading around all the indices around the world were just, you know, predominantly green today. But is Fed minutes this afternoon?
Fed minutes this afternoon, 2 o'clock.
I completely forgot about that. Is there any word, have you heard or read anything about?
I haven't read or heard anything about it, no.
Okay. John might have some information on it. And
John will probably have some.
is he with us yet?
Let's see. Let me check. Yes, he is. I can open up his mic.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir, very much.
Okay, it is open.
Okay, John, if you are there, welcome to the show.
Hello, hi.
Hey, how are you today?
Not too bad, a bit better. Got some great things going on here. You know, we had obviously we had a bit of drama yesterday afternoon, and I got to tell you, I've just been very lucky. Actually, nailed. You know, I talked about this new thing I'm developing, and it just caught the highs right about the time, and you did as well. You nailed it when you said we went to a record high, and you said to sell it. We both came to the same conclusion there, and it didn't take too long for the market to start selling off pretty sharply on this news that came out yesterday afternoon.
Now, tell me what news.
You know, the Manafort and Cohen
gotcha.
deals, and the market tanked into the night, and it kind of bottomed. I guess it bottomed, you know, early on in
about 8 o'clock last night.
Yeah, I came in and I missed the. Actually, I had a contingency plan to capture that bottom on based on an hourly change, half-hour hourly change, which we got. So we pretty much nailed it, and here we are. We got all the way up to my last sell on the S&P was, I believe it was 28.68, not too short, a short while ago, and we're starting to come off, and the VIXs are going higher now, and all of these things have. Look, I'm not ruling out higher prices today. This is maybe a little bit of a pullback, but we're failing to go to it. We're failing to go at a new high on the S&P, but the Nasdaq's a different story. It's gone higher than yesterday, I think, and it's just a minute. Or maybe it's not. Hang on a second. No, we're just shy of yesterday's high, actually. So, but we're closer to it. So we got to be careful because it sort of resembles a kind of a double top, and we are, you know, just like yesterday, we're sort of coming off. I mean, the market's nothing as strong as yesterday because we're actually negative on the Dow now. And part of that problem is the transports, which have been stellar performance for the last few days, making all-time record highs, have succumbed to a pretty sharp sell-off today. We're down about 85 points on the transports. So this is a bit of a bummer. And the banks are also down today, you know, JP Morgan and Co. So and they've been kind of strong recently. So not all the banks are down, but a lot of them are off from yesterday's highs. So that probably is dragging down the indices here. And I'd be pretty careful, frankly, because you know we're getting into the dog days of August, the last few days of August, and there is some real potential that we're within a week or two of a pretty significant top.
Where do you think that term came from, the dog days of summer?
I don't know, but
we probably all said it, but nobody. Somebody Google it, please. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, one just to give you an example how well this thing I'm working on is performing. NVIDIA, you know, which is one of my favorite stocks, got clobbered on this when it released its earnings, and it kind of dropped pretty sharply. over 2 days, and then it just turned on a dime, and we caught that low. We caught the highs initially. We actually had a sell stop. I didn't know which way the earnings were going to go, and the Wells Fargo guy came out with a very bullish, incredibly bullish upgrade on Nvidia, looking for $305 or something, and it's currently at about. Hang on a second. Currently at about 260, but it was down to 239, 238 actually is where it bottomed. Yesterday morning it bottomed pretty early, and it just, look, it looked terrible on the chart. It was a really big sell-off, and it has just absolutely, in two waves, it's gone up. Finished up really strong yesterday, had a very big reversal. And then it's consolidated a bit today. Sorry, 2 days. It's taken 3 days. This is the third day. The bottom 2 days ago. Consolidated yesterday, and it took off again today. And it didn't give up any ground, on this sell-off yesterday, which was interesting. And it's just it's taken back $20. It's almost at an all-time high. It's rebounded very dramatically. So that's really something that. Very hard to see in the future, but if you can catch it, it's very heartwarming. So I'm delighted to because this is a disciplined system just like yours. No matter how, you can't get your head in the way a lot of times. You have to use some discretion, but when it gives a buy, you got to go for it. You just got to go for the buy, and that's hard to do when the thing's been knocked down $20. You're sort of scared to go in and buy at that bottom, but it's worked out pretty well. The other thing that's going on is the gold did, as per what we were saying, the gold has been clawing its way higher. It's not performing that great at the moment. It got up to 1208 this morning. We sold it up there along with the silver around about 1485. We're just sort of possibly buying it back right here now, just nibbling in to try it, because it looks like it's has the potential to have another shot at the highs. Although if it does not, I'd be ready to sell it if it breaks down again. But the palladium, which I've been talking about a lot, is acting fantastic. It kind of gave a big sell signal early this morning. Didn't come off too much. That's turned around and it's making a new high on the day right now. We are at 918 on the palladium. We're $103 higher than the low of a week ago, and that is, it's almost miraculous. It's hard to fathom how that can happen. How this thing can get so clobbered, and yet can come back so strongly. It's nothing short of amazing, and you have to keep a very sharp eye on this palladium because it really rules the metals. And it augurs, this rebound augurs well for the metals. Also, there's a guy called Frank Holmes who's a very he's kind of a legendary fund manager. He manages USV funds.
I'm not familiar with his name, but
he's a big gold guy, and he's been gold all his life, and he knows. This guy's he doesn't come out and say something positive about gold unless there's good reason to, and he just came out with an article a couple of days ago.
Let me ask you a question. You see this palladium chart?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, and I apologize. Go ahead and finish, and what I've got to ask you, wait, it's not important. Go ahead, tell me what the guy said.
Okay, so, he's saying that, contrarians should be looking at gold right now. Look, I think when we get these lira, we got a bit of this when the Venezuelan thing tanked some months ago, and we got the same thing with the lira, because this guy in Turkey came out and said for people to sell their gold to convert into lira, Actually, it was a good, it was good advice as it turns out, because they made a quick. If you remember, if you did that right at the bottom, the lira did rebound 10 or 20%. So you can't blame the guy for saying that. And Turkey is a pretty big player in the gold market, so I guess it had an accentuating effect on the gold that was probably more driven by speculation and fear than anything else. So, but as I've said before, when the gold gets artificially, out of whack, it especially for political reasons, it tends to come back, fairly quickly thereafter. And we have actually taken back. I think we've taken back most of last week's losses already on the gold. And that's pretty significant in of itself. But the fact that we've done it on the palladium so dramatically is really, it's. I mean, look, it's done it twice now. That chart you had. Okay, the first time you see the big rebound it had.
Here.
It got from 850 all the way back up to 940. Okay,
940, yeah.
So $90 or so. Then it's come down here. On my chart, it shows about 815, I think, at the low. But anyway, it's up.
I've got mine just shows about 35. I'm looking.
Okay, it's up. It's up almost 100, but it's up almost $100. And this is, if you go to try going to a weekly chart, Dwayne.
Sure. Weekly. You said weekly, right?
Yeah.
Something I just noticed while you were talking. I brought up this lira. I found a U.S. dollar Turkish lira futures, and on a daily chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It looks like this thing's only been around a couple weeks.
Maybe they may have only started it. Yeah, they may have only just started it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So palladium, we're going to go to a week. Oh, and here's what I was going to ask you earlier. You see this green candle here? Different people define a bullish engulfing candle different ways. And some just call it an outside candle. But you see how the wick extends above and below the previous candle, but the body doesn't. Would you personally consider that a bullish engulfing?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
You would. So you count the wicks. Okay.
Yeah, as long as it goes above and below, it's a genuine outside day every time.
Okay.
And outside days have a very reliable trend changing days. Now look at that week.
Yes,
I mean, give me a break.
Especially in the proper context, they sure do.
Look at this weekly reversal. I mean, this is epic.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Which it took us from, let's see, about 840, 835, 840 in that week.
I mean, this potentially extends. This thing, I'm telling you, if this thing gets up to 930, 40, 50, you're gonna, by the end of the week, going into the end of the month, go to a monthly now and see what this chart is. Oh, by the way, before you go off that chart, hang on. You see the three waves. Look, we made an all-time high at 1150. We talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
It started coming down. It had this bounce. It's basically a three-wave. It's a perfect three-wave kind of correction. And you know what it looks like? It looks like the Chinese market. We've had this three-wave pullback in the Chinese market I've been talking about. We've made almost a perfect three-wave correction. Now the Chinese are absolutely pulling out all the stops on the stimulus to get the Chinese economy going. And that's kind of filtering down to the whole world. The emerging markets are turning, and the big question is, I mean, stranger things have happened. We could have a correction in the U.S. markets here in the next few weeks, and the emerging markets could keep going up. It's happened before. On the other hand, if we break out to the upside and I think we're going to actually start going back up again on the markets. But if we continue to break out on the upside, there's an outside chance we could go into a parabolic up move in the U.S. and the emerging markets would be riding our coattails and potentially participate in the upswing. So that's the sort of scenario that could come out. But just go to a monthly chart now on this palladium.
Monthly. Here we go. There it is.
Okay.
That doesn't look so bad at all. That looks pretty normal. Absolutely.
In fact, it's, you know, imagine if this thing goes green, this candle, this you know, bullish hammer thing goes green before the end. Hang on a sec, I gotta take this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Gary was kind enough to look this up for us, guys. The dog days of summer. Okay. Now you can't change your vote once I read this. The dog days, I always thought, were those summer days so devastatingly hot that even dogs would just lie around on the asphalt, panting. Many people today use the phrase to mean something like that, but originally, the phrase actually had nothing to do with dogs, or even with the lazy days of summer. Instead, it turns out, the dog days referred to the dog star, Sirius, and its position in the heavens. To the Greeks and Romans, the dog days occurred around the day when Sirius appeared to rise just before the sun in late July. They referred to these days as the hottest time of the year, a period that could bring fever or even catastrophe. If you go back even as far as Homer, and no, I'm not talking about the Simpsons, I'm talking about the Iliad, it's referring to Sirius as Orion's dog rising, and it describes the star as being associated with war and disaster. J. Holberg, author of Sirius, Brightest Diamond in the Night Sky, and senior research scientist at the University of Arizona Lunar and Planetary Laboratory. All throughout Greek and Roman literature, you found these things. The phrase dog days was translated from Latin to English about 500 years ago. Since then, it has taken on new meanings. Now people come up with other explanations for why they're called the dog days of summer, like this is when dogs can go crazy. Yes, that is shared by Ann Curzon, an English professor at the University of Michigan. So Gary tracked down the mystery of the dog days of summer. Originally had nothing to do with dogs. And to the Greeks and the Romans, the dog days occurred around the day when Sirius appeared to rise just before the sun in late July. They referred to these days as the hottest time of the year, a period that could bring fever or even catastrophe. So there we have it. It has to do with the dog star Sirius.
Well, we certainly had a pretty hot August so far. I guess it's been pretty hot over there in Phoenix, right?
Oh, yes, brutal.
Yeah. Listen, if this this is why I'm saying it's so important. If we go up another 10 points, 10 or 20 points in the palladium, and that thing turns green, that bullish hammer. Boy, you know, this thing could really, it doesn't have to turn green. Look what happened the last time. Look at that one back in May that caught us a huge run up. This one is, but I'm just telling you, let's say if it got up to 950 and equaled the previous high of this previous month, it just, I mean, you could have an almost, you know, you could have an explosion higher. And to be honest with you, the measured move on this thing takes you up to about 1600. If we get anywhere up around 1600 on the palladium, I think the metals are going to go up dramatically in pursuit. Now, you know, why would that happen? Well, you know, in spite of the fact that we've been in a pretty long bull market, you know, look, just like I said yesterday, 2 years off the bottom, 2.5 years off the bottom of the 2009, we were hitting new all-time highs in the transports and the mid caps. I mean, and in the retail index as well, which incidentally just hit new all-time highs. I mean, this is the longest bull market in history, and the retail index is still hitting new all-time highs. That's an amazing thing. You know, not only the retail, the advanced decline is hitting a new all-time high. There's probably other sectors out there that are hitting, and then now the semiconductors, because of NVIDIA, the semiconductors are getting back up again. That's really potentially very bullish. I mean, if the semiconductors start hitting all-time highs here in the next few weeks, it just doesn't get any more bullish than that. So the way it looks to me, this year is turning out to be a pretty extraordinary second year of an election cycle, in the sense that we're hitting all-time highs here in the third quarter. You know, even if we get a pullback, you know, if we were to get a pullback into the end of the, into the election, say, just like said 2016, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, because it would potentially set us up for a big run, perhaps opposite to this year. You know, it might not be as a spectacular a January as this year was before the crunch, but come February, March of next year, we could potentially start going higher, because I really believe the Fed is gonna start lowering rates at some point next year. And if they start lowering rates, around about March, April, May, sometime like that, because the economy might actually start to slow down a bit, they will be doing that in preparation for the 2020 elections, and it's going to start a whole new cycle. And it's just going to be onward and upward, and potentially, having had a pullback, it sets the market up for new highs for the first time in a pre-election year. And I would equate it to 1999, where normally the third year of an election can be a very big up year. Average can be 30 to 50% up for the market, and we've been cheated out of the last two-third years. Mostly because Obama was in charge, probably. Okay, what it tells me is, don't underestimate the potential for this next third year to make up for the last two that we got cheated out of. What am I getting at? Well, in 1999, the NASDAQ went up 100%, okay? And if we're going to have a blow-off top into 2020, 2021, 22, we could be looking at a similar kind of scenario. I'm not saying we go up 100%, but we could go up 50% or something like that. That's about where I think we'll go, because, as you know, I've got an 1150 target for the composite. We're just closing in on 8,000 now, so that'd be about a 50% upward, or 40 to 50% move up from there, this 8,000 number. And it would take, and then you could potentially get the Dow maybe up to 32,000, and the S&P, 3,300, something like that. So it all makes sense, and it's very real. It's very possible, because I think while we should all celebrate and be thankful, we've just become the longest bull market in history, I think, as of today. And to be hitting almost hitting new all-time highs is pretty special in of itself. How much longer this market can go on, I'm not so sure, but I think a lot of people have miscounted it, because just 1 second, sorry.
Go ahead. So yesterday, now these are this week's zones. I went ahead and updated a day early on the S&P for you. 2872/73. That was the high yesterday.
So go ahead. sorry, is that the Dow? Wow.
This is the Dow. Look at the S&P here. The high of the day, or the high yesterday, and then
it doesn't look so good. The Dow looks a little bit heavy there. It looks like we're going to pull back.
That is a 30-minute chart of the Dow. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And we're right at a weekly zone for this week.
Yeah. And the Nasdaq's breaking down. The stocks are breaking down now. So.
And if the Dow is any indication, then the next zone below 790 is 645/650.
Okay.
/650.
So the other thing is the energy, the gasoline and the heating oil are going quite a bit higher again today, showing there's still a lot of power in this energy market, even though it's off. They're acting quite well under the circumstances. I think that the market, even though we rebounded today quite well off this news yesterday, I don't think the market's gotten over this news just yet. So there's always a chance that it might have a secondary sell-off.
Your comment on the Dow there is well taken, because we pulled back from the sell-off. We've hit a weekly zone and a 62% Fibonacci retracement, and we've just been consolidating in that area for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours or so. Another leg to the downside, which would complete this and take it, down to the next zone at 45/50.
It's interesting how when the Nasdaq is strong, the Dow gets weak. Which is kind of bullish actually when that happens. But if we did get another leg down, then potentially tomorrow or Friday, we could have another spurt to the upside and possibly close up towards the end of the week. So this is quite good news. Remember, the banks are weighing down the Dow today. They're definitely not acting very well. They're actually starting to break down again. And the transports are also, Federal Express is getting hit. Boeing's getting hit today for some reason. So all these Dow stocks are kind of acting a little bit on the heavy side today. So the other thing that's acting heavy, it was very interesting that agriculture show that's on during the early morning Sunday. There's a very smart guy who is a broker from the Midwest, was talking about the beans, and the problem with the beans is there's just overcapacity, and to the point that all the silos are full, and they're really kind of just overwhelmed by the size of the crop and the yield. And this is one of the reasons why the beans can't get out of the way. Each rally, if you look at the rally, it looked great a couple of days ago, remember? Mm-hmm. And then it's come all the way back to, where it took off a few days ago. And it doesn't look very good. And he sort of said, they asked him, what do you think? And he says, can't rule out new lows on the beans. And he's kind of proven to be dead right so far, especially the meal. The meal has not been performing very well either, and neither has the soy oil. So the whole triad has been not acting that great this week. You probably are short right now, I would say, right, from last night or the last couple of days.
On which? On the soybeans?
On the beans.
Let's take a look. Soybeans. Last night's email said to consider selling 880. So yeah,
that was a good trade.
Some of that available from 880. What do we put in a low at? 880 down to 871. Still is a 9-point move, $50 a point. So
not bad.
Yeah,
not bad.
No, I'll take that any day of the week. Thank you.
Yeah, the lumber went limit down early this morning. it didn't crash down the limit. Took a while to get going from yesterday's highs, and to be honest with you, it didn't look as if it was going to pull back that much. But having gone down the limit, it's come off. We put a buy stop just above the limit, so we're back long the lumber. But I'd put a stop right underneath this here, just in case it goes back down the limit again. But if it can keep going, if it can get back up again, you know, the lumber might be headed higher. Because we remember we had three limit up days, and this is just the first kind of correction since then. So, you know, I would say there's possibly a little bit more upside still left in the lumber, in spite of the, you know, what's been happening. So, you know, so let's, if we're ruling, what's the word? rooting for the palladium to go higher. Yeah. And the wheat, by the way, you know, the wheat got knocked down for some reason really badly recently, and it's starting to turn today. I think the wheat is a buy here again. So
ZW, what month are you in?
September. Sorry, no, I'm into December right now on the wheat. December. Yeah. And we put I think we put a buy stop at 542 this morning, cover and reverse stop. And it's at 551 right now, so it's a really good trade for us.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see a nice long move here. I'll have to take a closer look at this. Anything else, John?
No, that's it. Thanks very much.
All right.
Okay.
Friend. Have a great day.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Let me take care of his mic. Now, anybody that's new, if you have a question about anything, type it in the chat box. Nobody sees what you type except myself, or Michael when he's here, or Bert when he's here. So, you know, don't hold back. Nobody's going to judge you because of what you know or don't know. The fact that you're here and you want to learn, that's exciting. And the fact that we get to play a part in that, well, that's exciting too. All right, on the S&P, last night's email said to consider being long, 28.52. Ran up 5.5 points. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. We got back below the trigger. Off we go again. 9-point run. We pull back. We don't quite get below the trigger here. And this pullback would have probably stopped most people out, depending on how close you're trailing. And then it did put in another leg, so the total move there was 16 points. I went ahead and put the zones up on the S&P here, this week's zones, a day early, just because I wanted you to see that high yesterday, the record high, etc., right at a weekly zone, 72.73, and then the big sell-off. Now this right here, hang on, 59.60. Yeah, I just want to make sure that was right. Okay, he caught it there and there, and then the low yesterday was the next zone down, 28.48/49, and then it turned back up. So that's always nice to see. The Dow, there was at the top at a weekly zone, this week's zone, 880/885. Last night we said to consider, or no, that was yesterday. Last night we said to consider buying 25.730. So we ran up 43 points, then we ran up 40 points. And then this pullback didn't quite make it below. The full Monty was 100 points. But interestingly, on the Dow, we did not hit the zone below. The zone below 790/95 is 645/650. Leg and a retrace. This is 62% fib area. You can almost see another leg to the downside. Not predicting it, just saying it wouldn't be out of order. Now, if that happens, what happens here? Do we just come back to this zone? Leg, a retrace, and a leg? It's possible. How much distance are we talking? Well, only 4 points. And in Dow speak, that's 40 points. And that's a lot more than 40 points. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. On the Russell. Last night, email said, consider being long 1715, which happened right about here, 1715. And we put in a high at 25, 1715 to 1725. 0.8, so I guess that's 10.8. We did not get back below the trigger here, so too bad. Now, crude, keep in mind that today was inventory day. A lot of movement, as is known to happen on crude day. What do we got for the high so far? 67.97. Well, our highest weekly zone was 67.55. $50/55. What did I do? Yeah. Okay. Delete these from last week. Alright, so we've blown through the highest weekly zone on crude. However, based on historical observance, by close of business Friday, we expect to be back at 67.55 or lower. The zone below that, 66.20. /25. /25. Okay. And we'll just do one more below that, and that would be 65.75/80. Keep in mind, these go out to the partners every Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern, before Wall Street wakes up, so everybody has a chance to get their charts all set up. So we're from zone to zone to zone to zone. Go through the zone on inventory numbers, but we should settle down as we go forward. Last night, the concierge trade alert said to consider buying 66.30. 66.30, right about there. 66.30 up to 68. So that's $1,700 per contract available. Right here, well, number one, we are not news traders. We avoid news. We like to go flat before news. And so if you were in this trade, you might have chosen to go flat, you know, right before the inventory numbers, which would have been right up here. That's still a very nice trade. If you tried to ride it out, depending upon how closely you were trailing, then this candle very well might have taken you out. So, I mean, worst case scenario, if you got tagged on this pullback, I don't know, that still puts you at 67 bucks. So that's still $700 per contract. So anyway, crude was very kind. Very kind. Gold. Gold, gold, gold. Gold behaving a little unusually this week. 1204. $1205. Now the next zone overhead is not until 1219. So yeah, we could see stocks sell off tomorrow and gold rally to hit that 1920 area. Now below 0405 we had 1194/95. Love it when that happens. Okay. All right. Nice zone to zone. Now, last night on gold, consider buying 1207. Wow. That didn't leave a lot of room to run. Point. Yeah. Stop out. Possibly. And we already looked at soybeans. NQ. Okay, these are current zones on the NQ, and last night on the NQ we said to consider buying 73.77. 73.77. So that's going to be, well, based on the time we put them out, it's going to be about right there. 73.77. All right. So from 73.77 to, this is just a zone overhead. So we'll go 429 minus 77. So that's 52 points just up to the zone, not counting this overshoot. 52, $20 a point. The market made $1,000 per contract available. Doesn't mean that's what you took out of it, because we never get out at the swing high or swing low because we trail a stop. And if you trail a stop, you always leave a little something on the table. That's how that works. $1,000 per contract available. And also right here, okay, on this move up and this retracement, which did not go back below the trigger, could have been stopped here. And if you somehow escape being stopped there, you very well may have been stopped here. So even though the market made this available, it was a little difficult getting there, if you know what I mean. Okay. Good word for the day. Joseph, Genesis 37:5. I've always wondered about this. Joseph had a dream, we all know, and he told this dream to his brothers, and they hated him. I wonder if Joseph, did he think this through? Right? He has the dream. It's awesome, I guess, for him. And should he or should he not have told? Well, apparently God's plan for his life involved him telling. Joseph had a dream. He told it to his brothers, and they hated him. First, dreamers are willing to make trade-offs. When God puts a dream in your heart, you'll have to make certain trade-offs, like forfeiting popularity for the pursuit of excellence and short-term pleasure for long-term fulfillment. Paul understood this principle. In Acts 20:23, it says, "The Holy Spirit testifies in every city, saying that chains and tribulations await me, but none of these things move me." Second, dreamers aren't always appreciated. As we know from Joseph's story, Joseph had a dream, he told it to his brothers, and as a result, they hated him. Some people won't appreciate your dream because it reminds them of the dream they never had, or perhaps the dream they abandoned. And when they try to talk you out of your dream, often they're trying to talk themselves back into their comfort zone. They'll present you with every rational excuse they've ever given themselves. How should you respond? Love them? Help them if you can? But don't be influenced by those who have given up on their dream. Author John Mason says this: if you move with God, you'll be critiqued. The only way to avoid criticism is to do nothing and be nothing. Even then, you could be criticized for doing nothing. Third, dreamers are overcomers. Joseph's dream enabled him to overcome temptation at the hands of Potiphar's wife, betrayal by his family, false imprisonment, and a lot of other things that cause us to quit. God's purpose alone should be the stuff of which your dream is made. To discover your dream, get to know yourself, your strengths, and your weaknesses. Observe where God has placed you, seek His counsel, and look for opportunities and kingdom connections. When you do, He will give you a dream for your life, and even better, He'll help you fulfill it. That's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for joining us on this Wednesday, the 22nd day of August, 2018. Just wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.